Welcome to the Building Up Women in Property podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca Bangura, and I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. This podcast is for ambitious women who work in property and construction, who want to learn how to have a career they love on their terms. Join me every week where I'll leave you excited and confident to take your next steps. Thanks for being here with me. Now let's get started. Hello, thank you for joining me here today. We are talking about performance reviews in this episode, and this is a topic I get asked about a lot. And I really wanted to go into depth on this today. Firstly, around why performance reviews are so important and how they're an excellent opportunity to set yourself up to achieve your career goals. And also to give you some really practical tips that you can take away and apply as you prepare for your own performance review. So why are performance reviews so important? Well, as the name suggests, this is your opportunity to demonstrate the value you bring to the organisation. So every employer sets out with a set of objectives that they expect their employees to deliver on. And this is your opportunity to show how you measure up against each of those. And this is important for your boss and for your leadership team because they want to know that not only are you achieving the desired outcomes, they want to know that they're getting value for money. And this is really the platform and the structure in which for you to show that. But the other part of the conversation is this is the opportunity to share your career vision and your aspirations with your boss and to make requests for your own development and your own growth. This is so important. And I think this is where so many women feel really uncomfortable actually going in and advocating for themselves and what they want. But we need to do this. First of all, you have to have your own back. No one is ever going to advocate for you as hard as you will advocate for yourself. And that's important, right? You need to have your own back in your career and your development. So use this as an opportunity. And there are not many times within a year where you get to sit down with your leadership and actually have a conversation that is focused solely on you. So use this to your advantage. Take this time and share that vision, because I often see women being disappointed that they haven't got promotions or opportunities presented to them, but they've also never put their hand up and asked for them. And whilst we would like to think that our boss has our best interests in mind, they aren't as focused on us as we would like them to be. They are focused on doing their job and achieving the results they need to deliver on. And they have their own thoughts around what people might want to do and what opportunities might align with them. And they may not be the same as yours. So use this as an opportunity to provide that insight and almost educate them on what you are trying to achieve. This will increase their awareness and allow them to start working towards those goals as well. So don't assume that they know what you want. This is your opportunity to be really explicit and guide them through that process. And the other part, which is around actually making requests, is really important because, there's that expression around the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and it's true. So people that actually put their hand up and say, I want this, they're usually the people that get it because there's an urgency that your boss actually needs to address this. And that's not to say it will happen overnight, but it certainly puts it on their radar and they start seeking a solution for it. But if you're the great employee who always over-delivers on their job and never asks for anything in return, well, why would the boss put you forward for the promotion or for the pay rise when they have someone who's kicking and screaming for that? And that's not to say that you need to be demanding or aggressive in your requests. It's about being assertive. It's about actually owning what you want and advocating for yourself. And that is just so important because you need to be your number one advocate. It's as simple as that. And the more ownership you take of your career, the more opportunities there will be for you in the long run. Now, I really think of this process as having two parts. The first is the planning phase and the second is the execution. So tip number one is the planning phase. Start to think about your performance review at least 2 or 3 weeks out, because it's really important that you give yourself the time and space to think about what you've achieved and what it is that you want. And that isn't something that will come to you overnight. So don't leave this to the last minute. Start thinking ahead. Now, tip number one is you need to know what you want. And I'm going to say as a baseline here, you want a 5 out of 5 rating on your performance. Let's just say that that's the expected piece. I want you to get clear on exactly what you want in terms of your request, and your development. So it might be that you are looking for a promotion. It might be a pay rise. It might be education opportunities or professional development. So really give this some thought. Get clear in your own mind and define it. If you want a pay rise, how much do you want? Do your research. Look at what other people are paying in the market. Find out what your peers are getting paid. Where do you benchmark against that? Do your research and have a number in your mind that you would be happy with. And same for a promotion. What is the next step that you would like to take? What are the skills that you want to develop in that role? What is the title? The more clarity you have on what you want, the better. Because this has to be crystal clear in your mind so that you can articulate it clearly to others. Because there's nothing worse than someone saying, oh, I want a promotion, and then not being able to provide any detail on what that looks like. That's like saying you just want a promotion for the sake of it. Turn up and show that you're serious. Be clear on where you're going. And the more ownership you can take of your career, the further you will go. Believe me. Which leads me to tip 2, which is get into the right mindset. And this is about that 5 out of 5 star rating. I want you to go in with the mindset that you are awesome at your job. Because if you go in thinking anything less, it will reflect in the conversation. You need to have your own back here. No excuses. You should be saying 5 out of 5 for everything, because no one is going to advocate for your career harder than you are, and nor should they. Take ownership of this and really run with it, which takes me to tip 3, which is find the proof. So I want you to go back, find the emails from clients or customers or internal stakeholders saying where you've done a great job or thanking you for the work you've done. Look at the key metrics. What are your retention numbers? What are your sales or revenue numbers? What are your LTI metrics? What are your budgets managed? Think of all the places that you have shown up and done an outstanding job. And this might be specifically related to things within your remit, or it might be other things. It could be things that sit completely outside of your role. It could be representing your organization and speaking at events, or running a special project, or training and upskilling that you've taken on. So take the time to really think about this. Find the client praise. Think about all the things you have achieved and accomplished over this last year and write them all down. Print out the emails, gather a file of all of your wins. And I actually think this is a really important thing for us to do anyway, and I suggest this to all my clients, is keep a wins list. And this is a running list that you update through the year, where every time you get a great email complimenting you or thanking you, you make a note of it somewhere, whether it's in a book or on a spreadsheet, and then you actually file that email away in a specific folder so that whenever you get to a performance review, you can pull that information out. It's readily available to you and you can start this review process. And it's also really important because it actually gives you a moment to stop and acknowledge the things you were doing well. And most of us don't do that often enough. So try and make that a habit if you can. And so whilst we've compiled all those achievements and those wins, I want you to also think about what were the challenges that you encountered and how did you respond? What was the learning and the growth? And how did you share this with your team or others so that they could improve as well? And this comes back to this 5 out of 5 rating I want you to give yourself. Now, you may not have done everything perfectly, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be going in for a 5 out of 5, because your performance review is not supposed to be a demonstration that you're perfect. It's about outcomes. And the key qualities that you want to be showing is capability and growth and adaptability and resilience. They are what make great leaders. And it's quite often in the challenging times that you actually get to really strengthen and demonstrate those characteristics. You don't want to shy away from the conversations around things that haven't gone perfectly. You actually want to use those as examples of why you are so good at what you do and how you manage to turn things around or solve future problems through that experience. And then the final part in terms of gathering your proof and your evidence is around actually circling back to the last performance review that you had. So what were the areas of growth that were identified last time, or what were the opportunities? And how can you illustrate the progress or the results that you have achieved in that area? I hope you've been enjoying the episode. I wanted to take a moment to let you know about my free Career Confidence Masterclass. This is for ambitious, career-orientated women who are ready to stop playing small and to confidently create a career you love. Head over to my website, beautifuldisruptions.com, for more info. Now let's get back to the episode. Now, tip 3 is around demonstrating value in a way that matters to your boss. This is crucial when it comes to documenting your performance review, because as much as client feedback might be outstanding, what matters to your boss is client retention or revenue generated or profit margins. So think about the KPIs that your boss cares about. And then for each example that you gathered as part of your preparation, I want you to talk about it in terms of what matter to your boss. Really think about the metrics that are important to them and then demonstrate that as you document it. So provide the context, give examples of the situation or what happened and what actions you took, and then what were the tangible results that benefited the organization. So do that full circle, take someone on the journey. Don't just say, oh, I got a great email. This client loves me. Okay, that's nice. You're a great person. But what your boss wants to know is that customer is now loyal to your organization as a result of the extra effort that you went into to deliver for them. That's what matters. So that's the story you need to tell. And sometimes it takes a bit of digging and a bit of thought to go back and explore the context and to really think about, what will my boss care about here? Why is this important? But it's essential that you take the time to do this. Because the more evidence that you can give your boss around how great you are at your job, the more they will be willing and able to support a business case for a pay rise for you or for the promotion. And so those 3 tips really cover off the pre-work I want you to think about. And then we shift into on the day. And this is about getting your game face on. I want you to actually block out time ahead of your performance review so that you can gather your thoughts and show up calm and prepared with your performance review top of mind. You don't want to come into this session on the back of another meeting where you are still distracted and still thinking about that. You want to absolutely be focused on this conversation. So block the time out, find a corner, have a cup of tea, get away from distractions, maybe even head to the toilet and do a little power pose for a couple of minutes and really get your game face on. Show up composed and calm and focused. Now, tip 5 is to ask for what you want. Do not shy away from this part of the conversation. So paint the picture around what you want and then make a request. And it's okay if this part of the conversation feels a bit uncomfortable. It's okay if there's uncomfortable silences. In fact, sometimes silences are really crucial when you're negotiating. And ultimately, this is the start of a negotiation. This is making a request for an opportunity for yourself. And bear in mind that this conversation probably won't be solved within this session. It's very likely that your boss will go away and have to take actions after this session and then circle back to you. And that's fine. But make sure you don't step in to fill in the silences to try and ease their discomfort. You want an element of discomfort in this conversation. You want them to know you're serious about the pay rise you're asking for. This isn't something you're just saying flippantly or because you should. You actually want that 15 grand pay rise or that 30 grand pay rise or whatever it is. And you don't necessarily need to share the detail of exactly what you want. You don't need to necessarily put the number on the table just yet. But you do need to make it an action item in your conversations with your boss. So again, allow that discomfort, allow the silence. And how that goes is by making a request. So, I would like a pay rise. Let the silence sit. Let your boss fill in the blanks. You don't need to overcompensate here, and it weakens your position when you do. So make the request, let it sit. And then tip 6 is to actually summarize at the end of the session what the next steps are. So as I said before, it's not likely that your request will be agreed to in this session, and that's okay. But what you want to do is actually articulate what the next steps are. And how I suggest doing this is, first of all, thanking everyone for their time, reiterating some of the highlights of your performance, and articulate the next steps around your request. So I look forward to hearing back from you in the next week on this and continuing our conversation around the pay rise. And then go away and diarize that and follow up. Don't just let it be something you said once in a meeting. actually follow this up. Demonstrate that this is a priority for you, not only in the meeting, but also subsequent to the meeting. So articulate the agreed next steps and then take those next steps and actually follow up on them. Diarize when you need to touch base with your boss and then reach out and do it. Don't shy away from the discomfort in making your request, because if you do, nothing will come of it. And people sense when you are saying something without any real conviction, and they're much less likely to follow through. So again, have your own back and really use this as the opportunity to go in and ask for what you want on the back of having demonstrated why you are so good at what you do and why you are so valuable to the organization. Because that's why these conversations are powerful. You've just given them all the evidence around why you are a star performer. They would be crazy to lose you. And you're giving them the absolute solution on how to keep you happy and engaged and loyal to the business. Okay, that's what I've got for you today. Take the time to do this work. It is so important, especially when we talk about promotions and pay rises and learning opportunities. These things will have a massive impact in your career. The sooner you can get a pay increase, even if it's a small one, that will make a massive difference over the course of your career. So take the time, get really clear on exactly what it is you want. Then take the time to cultivate that self-belief, reinforcing your own mind what you have achieved. Find the evidence for your accomplishments and your growth and the value you bring within the organization, and articulate that in a way that matters to your manager. And then take that time to really get in the zone, show up, be clear, be concise, allow the discomfort, but make the request and stay the course. And finish up with clear next steps and actions. Okay, you've got this. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me on the Building Up Women in Property podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, I'd love for you to take a moment and review the show if you found it helpful, or share it with a few friends. Thanks again. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.